Could this be the best possible news for Secret Wars? What has been the big problem in the MCU? It's been the writing, and it looks like Marvel Studios has snagged up some great previous writers to bring Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty to life. And guess what? They've got experience doing two-parters. Let's dive into who's working back at Marvel Studios, why this is a huge implication for who might direct the movie, and how it could bring us back to the golden age of Marvel Studios. Now, before we do that though, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and ring that bell for all the updates. We do daily Marvel and DC videos, and we want to be your place for all the superhero news. As many of you know, Marvel Studios has really had some serious quality control issues in many recent projects, and these have included special effects, some acting, but most importantly, the writing. And it can't be overstated how important writing is to every one of these projects. You have to have a good story, and you need the right writers on those jobs. And with so many irons in the fire, well, it didn't seem like there was enough writers to go around. Now, after some so-so reviews and definitely lower than box office numbers, we all know Marvel Studios is ready to shift back to quality over quantity. And to do that, it looks like they're enlisting some tried and true favorites. But let's set the stage first. As many of you know, the multiverse saga is supposed to conclude with two Avengers movies, the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. But over the last few days, a lot of that seems to be in flux. Now, it's still unclear whether they're sticking with Kang the Conqueror as the main villain and Jonathan Major's status in that, but we do know Dustin Daniel Cretton has left Kang Dynasty, and we're even hearing that movie's title could be changed altogether. This tied to the fact that Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania writer Jeff Loveness, who was working on these projects, has been dropped, and depending on who you believe, it appears also that Michael Waldron, who was reported to be working on one of them, both of them, well, now might be working on neither one of them, leaving the projects without writers or directors, which is pretty concerning. So you're probably wondering, where's the good news in all this? Well, that's where we're at now, because earlier today we got a very interesting report, and like I said, this is stellar news. This comes via John Roca and the Hot Mic podcast. Now, to be fair, like we always say, it's not Marvel Studios and it's not Kevin Feige, so we have to take it with a grain of salt. But that podcast has put a lot of great stuff out in recent months, usually via Jeff Snyder, but this is something we were just speculating on, and I think it's the first piece in a big fix. Now, what he is saying is, and I quote, "I have been told that Christopher Markus and Stephen McFeely are unofficially advisors over the last few months at Marvel." Now, if you're a huge MCU fan, you recognize those names. But just in case you don't, these are the writers who wrote Infinity War and Endgame, not to mention the 3 Captain America movies leading into those, giving them probably the best writing track record for anybody that's worked in the MCU. These guys are also the writers that the Russo brothers love to work with. And honestly, we just talked about this. Getting these guys back with the Russo brothers is the key to success here. And it looks like Marvel has put the first big piece on the board. The next 2 Avengers movies really do need that 1-2 punch that Infinity War and Endgame gave us. They delivered on that perfectly. And quite honestly, Infinity War's ending still lands with a giant smack in the face, something very few movies are able to do. And their goal of making it the Empire Strikes Back of superhero films was massively achieved. Getting these guys back on the keyboard for Marvel Studios would be nothing but a win, no matter what direction it eventually goes. Now, we still have to deal with the speculation about Kang possibly being written out, although we are hearing reports that a recast is much more likely, so I think that's a better idea, and it definitely will end better with fans than scrapping the whole thing and throwing in Doctor Doom, even though many of us love the villain and would like to see him show up sooner. Now, hopefully we get some confirmation on these two's return directly from Marvel Studios. We're going to follow this one closely and keep an eye on the Russo brothers. I'm doing a little research on their upcoming release schedule, and I'm hopeful that could give us some clues on whether they're even available to dive into these projects. So what do you guys think? How do you feel about Markus and McFeely returning to the MCU to write Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars? Tell me what you think in the comments below.